everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can paint a realistic fall leaf with 3D water drops. This is a continuation of last week's lesson where we talked about how to create 3D water drops, but the whole thing is entirely real time. And if you haven't seen the other one, it's okay. I'm going to explain the concept again because I know that what I can explain to you and what we can show to you, you can do at home. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
He makes sure that when I'm demonstrating a technique, a color mix, a tool, anything that I'm talking about, you can really see it because one of our robotic cameras is absolutely pointing at it. This class, we're going to cover how to create fall leaves, how to draw this type of leaf, like the principles of that, how to get veining, how to do a drop shadow, how the lensing of the water drop works, and the tools that you might need to create this type of look. It is beginner friendly. All levels of painter are absolutely welcome. So there's really nothing for you to do, but check the description, see what we're using today. If you didn't catch the preview, go by the website, grab the traceable if you want that. If not, I'm going to show you how to draw it. So either option is there for you. Oh, and there's going to be a giveaway. Find out at the end of the video how you can enter to win maybe a free month of our Art Sherpa patronage where we have extra weird videos that we don't offer online everywhere else. Plus sneak peeks and previews and naming and all kinds of cool things that we do for our patronage. One lucky viewer might win that. Stay to the end of the video to find out how you could too. Get your paint, get your brushes, and your watercolor paper, and come back and meet me at this watercolor pad because I'm going to show you for real how to paint this. So I love it when I'm in my mini-me phase, John. Like it was shrunk down small. I feel like I'm so little. But even from this position, I'm going to be able to help you get through this amazing project. And you really can do this for yourself at home. So I've got my 9x12 watercolor block. This is cold pressed paper. It's 140 pound. The specific brand I like to use is the Fabriano. I just really like it. I like the company. I like the people over there. I know some of the people over there. So I'm just fond of this. There are other choices out there, but I do recommend 140 pound, and I do recommend that it's watercolor cold press because I like the bumpy. If you don't like bumpy, do hot press. And blocks can keep your paper from like warping and bending on you as badly, and then it'll dry flat. So that's why block. Over here I have my palette. I am going to be using my fall colors today. I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to be doing most of this with the number 14 round soft aqua, and I'm going to begin by sketching in the leaf, which you totally can do, and I'm going to give you some tips to be better at this if you're really new at art, or you're a young artist, you're a very new artist, right? We got you young artists and very new artists, and young at heart artists. I'm going to be using a watercolor pencil. There's a lot of watercolor pencils out there. Some of them are fine art materials, and they can be a little more pricey, but some of them are student grade, so you've got a range of prices. If you have to do this with an HB pencil, it will still work, right?
I would think so.
He thinks so. He's not sure because I just told him.
But sometimes you talk about the pencil lead. It will be picked up a little bit more sometimes.
Well, it'll show through.
Show through.
We'll just call it line and wash. Whenever you do pencil lead and it shows through, and anyone's like, "Hey, your pencil's showing," you just go, "It's line and wash."
Oh.
I meant it that way. But for this, I'm going to show you with watercolor because that will blend into the leaf. Powered by coffee. So this particular leaf is actually pretty easy to freehand or draw. And one of the first things that I want to do is get the bend of the stem. And what you're going to see here, and what is going to aggravate John through this whole segment, is that I am drawing so light that you can barely see the line. But here's the thing, guys. When you're new to art, it's the first thing you can do to improve your art for most beginners is to lighten up your line. I'm going to bring a center line through here. And then we've really got on each side 4 little side lines, and they start at the base of the stem, which is right here. So kind of coming out to here in a radius, and it's almost the exact same distance out as this vein of the leaf. And once you have that, you're going to want to put that one up here as well. Pretty good. So it's like this first fork. You've got a center and 2 on each side. Then coming out from that shorter and curving a bit down, you're going to want to do another 2 lines on either side. And then here's the important final follow line. It kind of comes back. And I like to think of those as like, this is like the little leaf's tail. So this is like the classic fall leaf. Now on the toe of these, generally there's a very fine point. And then there's a bit that kind of curves up Doesn't really matter how it does it. It just curves up a little bit. And leaves are not perfect. So if you're having trouble getting your leaves perfect, the good news is that nature did too. So, you're just doing a good job. You're going to join these two where they go up and scoop down. So it's like a scoop, scoop, scoop. Remember the alley-oop, alley-oop, alley-oop?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like that. It's an alley-oop. You can alley-oop.
Yes.
Or, some of us can alley-oop. Now, this back leaf here, this one comes here. It doesn't have such a big alley-oop. So its alley-oop is just a single alley-oop.
Mm-hmm.
But then it has a little bit of an alley-oop. And then we'll curl this here. And there we go. We have one half of the leaf. It's light. And it's supposed to be light.
It's very light.
It's supposed to be light. A little alley-oop. Of a bit, but remember this one doesn't have as much of an alley-oop. Let's make it longer, and it's going to come in here. It's going to come down to this little fellow right here. There we go. So now we have that basic fall leaf shape. I can kind of strengthen my little lines here. I know I'll be painting them in darker in just a second to show the veining. Once you get the basic structure in, until we get to that water drop part, this is all pretty relaxed painting. So that's the drawing that you could barely see.
You can see it, especially from the side view. Just a little bit. It's very faint.
And just try not to put so much pressure through your body, into the pencil, into the brush, into the object that you're holding to make marks onto your surface. That's where you're going to get your line controls to lighten up a little bit. We all got to lighten up a little bit. I'm going to get my brushes sort of out of the way, and I'm going to do my number 14 Raphael Soft Aqua. I'm going to get a little clean water over here. I'm going to get my brush wet. And let's begin with a little Quinacridone Gold. All right, we got a little Quinacridone Gold, a little burnt umber. Just mixing them up here. And I'm going to grab a little Payne's Gray. This feels very fall to me. And you can see it kind of gets me into a nice chocolatey brown. And I'm going to do my veins right now.
Yeah.
With this darker color. Even though I know I'm going to come through with wash. Because my veins are going to be darker. And if I get them painted in now and then I do a glaze over it, I'm going to get a better result.
Now, what is this very pointy brush?
This is the number 14 Soft Aqua.
Okay, just want to make sure. I thought you said that, but I wasn't sure. And if I wasn't paying attention to catch it, then somebody else missed it too.
Was not paying attention to catch it.
And
also we write these down specifically on the webpage, on the description of the video below. I even have a blog for if you're brand new to this course and you're like, I don't know anything. I've got a blog to kind of answer those first questions because we don't expect you to actually know everything.
This is where that amazing ability in high school I generated to be here.
And not be here?
But not pay attention and still do the work. So,
did you have that superpower? I have to wonder if people at home had that superpower as well. I'm adding a little more of the...
Well, you would wonder, how could this work out to my benefit? But see, I constantly am wondering what you're doing.
Oh, you mean right now it's become a benefit to us?
Yeah, the fact that I have no idea what you're doing any of the time helps everybody.
I like how you worked out not listening is good for the show.
It is. I am the perpetual student.
I'm making sure that these little vein lines that I'm bringing up into my leaf.
You're using a lot of water to do that?
Very little water. So the brush, you can see it's got paint on it, but it's not soaked. And that's the whole point of a watercolor brush is that we do have paint, but we're not.
Oh, you're okay. I was looking at the camera above you.
Oh, so John can look around the curtain at me, but sometimes he looks around the curtain at me to give me subtle cues ooh, everything is broken. So I've got to look at him kind of just to make sure that we're all right.
Sometimes I'm just mocking her.
These lines need to be kind of fine and light, and we do want them here. They are nice. They do help us. It's just Yeah, just getting that first little leaf in. And then as we put the rest of the leaf in, these little veins will be real fun. And then as we get the water drops in, that'll add another layer. You can always add more or take away in art. That's one of the great elements of art, is that there isn't just a one way to get something done. There are many ways to get things done. Notice that I'm staggering lines. I'm not making ladders, right? I'm making like veins or stream beds. And that's a little bit about not lining up every line and being super symmetrical. If I want a finer line, I lighten the pressure on my brush. And I can kind of come out here and maybe take some of this to the side a bit. All right, look at that. So now we have this sort of veining in. And we get to get into the fun of this leaf. I'm going to get my transparent Pyrrole orange. This is a very bright orange. I love this orange. I've got my Quinacridone Gold here. I've got my browns here and my gray. And if I need to lighten up, what I also have is this nickel Azo Yellow, which I like very, very much. You can see that's right there. I have Hansa Yellow in the mix as well. But I think for fall, I'm going to like the nickel Azo Yellow quite a bit. You can see that gives me a very kind of gold light color that I'm wetting out. What I want to do is I want to have the color, and I'm adding a little water and I'm thinning it. See how this is like a wash?
Yeah.
I'm making a wash. And where my veins are dry, that sounds good, doesn't it? I'm going to go ahead and do a very light wash of color. This means I have water in my brush and not a lot of paint. And that's a skill that you've got to master in watercolor, is the wash.
You have to have wet veins to be an astronaut now.
Oh, I heard about that, where they can take the blood and make bricks or something on Mars. I think that's going to lower the volunteer rate for that mission. That was not something Gene Roddenberry envisioned in his future of the universe.
But the Matrix did.
The Matrix completely saw this future, but I think Gene was thinking Starfleet wasn't like, space exploration / vampire. I honestly, when I heard that, I was like, is NASA punking us?
I don't think it was NASA who came up with that.
Was that one of the billionaires going to space?
May have been, I don't know, to be honest. But
that does sound like an Elon Musk plan. Like, guys, it's okay. We're just going to take some of your blood. We're going to be collecting it on the flight there. You're out there for years. We'll give you a juice box. And when we get there, we're going to use your blood and some mud to build you a shelter. Hey, I'm going to teach them how to paint the sleeve. I'm going to continue to glaze over this. And you can see in the glazing that those lines that I made for the veins have gotten quite light.
It is.
Is that what made you think of the blood as the veins of the leaf, and you just thought, veins? I
have to say that that's much more of a Bezos play than a Musk play.
Oh, my God.
Musk's going to send robots.
there's going to be, I don't know when it's going to come out, but there's going to be a Jeff Bezos follow-up story where we're all going to be like, oh, he did what? And then we're going to be like, yeah, I kind of believe it.
Except, I don't know, that may never see the light of day because he'll just buy everything between you and him and the story.
Maybe. I don't know. You never know.
History,
I mean, he does kind of get between everything and him, but there's other billionaires, right? And they're not all friends.
Not all motivated either. I mean, like, history.
So we have this nice cool brown.
Deep philosophical discussion over
of all of this.
Leaf.
And our veins still look pretty good. And while this is all a little bit kind of still wet, I can come into my orange.
All right.
And I can kind of create some dimensionality. Get into my orange and brown. Dimensionality into my leaf here. Isn't this fun? And because the leaf is still wet, that means the paint on it hasn't dried yet into the paper. It's going to do a thing called blending. It's going to soft bloom into the paper and continue to soften as this leaf dries. Now you may lose some of your veins as you paint, and that's okay. That's just a function of, the way watercolor is. I'm going to come in the middle here with just some more orange. I love the transparent Pyrrole orange. Grab some of that I warmed with the nickel Azo Yellow. And you can see where it's dry here, it isn't blending as much. And that's okay. Neither one of those things really hurts us particularly. I might get some of my Pyrrole Red in there. It's very red, and you can see I can mix it into the orange. And work some of the all colors nice. In, right?
It is. I don't know. It seems a little more autumn to me.
So over on our acrylic channel, for a period, I just couldn't take it at the end of summer, so I started painting autumn probably too early. And it
was an early autumn.
It was an early autumn for me because I was like, I just need to get out of this crazy summer where it never is ending, and you know, every new news story was like more upsetting than the last. I'm like, let's just go to autumn. But everything we named was autumn, and it was really hard to keep track of all the videos because they were autumn this and autumn that, and I did more than one autumn forest. So it was like autumn forest with big tree. But this autumn leaf, somewhere is a mod that just screamed into the night. You can see I can just play with these little lines here and make them, you know, more artful if I wanted to. Because that's how art is. It can be artful and exaggerate. You can see already right now, that's a pretty lovely fall leaf, isn't it?
It is.
One of the tricks is I can take my nickel Azo Yellow. I'm going to load up quite a lot of it on my brush. And add some little spots here and there. And because it's kind of a green yellow, that's going to be interesting as well. And these little spots are going to really do a good job being kind of like the discoloration you might see in leaves sometimes. And again, while this is all wet, and I'm going to get my Quinacridone Gold. It's a wonderful color. And also, where the paper is still wet, I'm going to dot out and work out some irregular little lineage. Doesn't that look good?
Yeah.
Now the thing is, it's got to dry a little bit.
Yes.
It's to dry to do the drop. So generally, I don't think it's great when you're trying to get a fully softened or developed watercolor to hit it with your hair dryer too soon, or to try to accelerate the drying. So allow your painting to resolve and dry naturally, and then I'll do the same. And then we're going to come back together, you and me, when this is dry, and we're going to add more details and water drops. So now that everything is fully dry, and you can always check that, and it just really helps for the next stage for things to be dry. I'm going to take my brush again, and I'm going to get into that kind of red mixture. I'm going to take a little brown into it. I just kind of want a reddish brown, and I'm going to go back and strengthen some of these lines.
Ooh.
Right? Make them stand out a little more. I am using the very fine point. If you're having any trouble with your brush and you need to get a smaller brush, go ahead and do that. We're just talking about those little veins going into the leaf.
I like the little splotchiness to it.
Well, and we're going to exaggerate some things about that splotchiness, sir.
Well, it's like if you've ever grown up around these kind of leaves, then those are the leaves that they've dried, but then the drips from the tree have fallen on them and caused them to get moist in different areas. So you find that wonderful patterning on some of the leaves.
It's a science show now.
Well, no, but it's like when you're collecting, you're trying to find the ones that are perfect so you can press them in a book. Like, you get to know your leaves a little bit.
Because you had a large book pressing collection going on?
I don't know. I was probably 7, and I was like, I want to learn to press leaves. And my grandma.
Before the internet.
Yeah.
What kids did with their free time.
I went to her house, swam in the pool, chased fireflies and found leaves to press in paper.
The before times. I'm taking a little
No
Payne's
intertunes.
gray and burnt umber, and I'm gonna also exaggerate some of these little discoloration dots that you enjoyed.
I was discovering Sinclairs and Commodores and
The early days, right?
early electronic adding machines with complicated functions.
With complicated functions. Oh my gosh. If you just think how we've seen, like, even the video games change over the years.
Oh man. I can't tell you how many hours of load time I have waited for while press play on tape went.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some water drops. Just a few of them across here. I'm also going to work on the stem and maybe a drop cast shadow. To help me with my water drops, I've got a burnt umber, an umber. So you could use the paint if you didn't have a watercolor pencil. And I'm going to draw myself some drops. I'm going to just make a few different circles around the leaf. Some of them can be long. They don't have to be perfectly shaped, guys. They should be in different sizes.
Roundness.
Yeah. You know, different little sizes there. I'm going to go ahead and get a little of that burnt umber Payne's gray mix in a loose wash. And I'm going to come under my leaf a bit. Kind of imply a little shadow here. It could be going on. A nice little drop shadow. Give that leaf a little bit of credibility there. I'll get into my little orange brown. Finish out my stem. And at the base of the stem, I'm going to take some gray. Just kind of give that a little personality there. So there's just a little personality. So now we've got this nice drop shadow.
You sort of anchored it.
Yeah. And the shadow kind of gives this space now. Now it exists in a three-dimensional space. Then when we add the water drops to that, that's going to be super, super important. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to have a light area and a dark area. So the forward part of the drops will be light. The back part of the drops will be darker. And we're going to create a lens effect and drop shadow through that. If you want to see more on this, we did a whole video on just making water drops. It's kind of cool. So this is how you take that skill and do something with it.
It was really a good one too.
In that, we had mentioned using localized color, if you remember, where I'm going to take a little bit of the Quinacridone Gold. I'm getting all the little colors using the leaves, and I just need a darker color that's going to be the shadow, but it needs to be of the leaves.
Of the leaves.
Of the leaves. Get a little more water into my brush. And so on the back side of the water drop, I'm going to cast a little bit of a shadow here. Now we're doing backside, localized color. In other words, a darker version. We're not just dropping. In the first one, we did kind of like a blue over everything, but this time we're using what we mentioned, that localized color, which is the color that is in the environment, but a darker value of it.
Okay, so can I take a step back and like, I'm looking at this from above.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what I find kind of weird. You put the shadow on the opposite side of the shadow of the leaf.
Oh, that's because the light's going through.
Okay, but that's why if you're like looking at this and you're going, how come the shadows on one is on the different side of the...
Oh, because the way that water lenses, and you might be able to explain that a little bit better.
Sure. Well, I don't want to... So
if the light is... Yeah. How I knew to do this is if the light is coming from here, right, which would drop this shadow down here, we're going to end up having the lens here, and you're going to see another shadow come off the drops that comes forward on the drops.
Yeah. So it is the unusual nature of the lens of the water that causes that.
It is the unusual nature. And speaking of, I want to get my brush to a nice point. So when I pull this part of it out, and again, localized color, but it should be quite dark. Now you can see the shadows sort of pulling together off of the leaf, off the leaf. A brown gray, so we're still in that color that we would expect to be. All right, so I have all that there, looking pretty good. Now I can do a couple touches. The first thing is I'm gonna do, I have here a thing, it's called gouache. It is white, it's like a white opaque watercolor. It's gouache. If you didn't want to use that, you could use acrylic, white acrylic. And I even have like a white pastel pencils like that you would use, like you could come forward on this and see. Start to create a type of light reflection. But I'm going to use the gouache. Ooh. I'm going to rinse out my brush really well, though, before I use the gouache. My brush has quite a lot of the other pigment in it, so I had to get it out. And you can see the difference between gouache and acrylic is that where I put this gouache out, I can use it again and again and again and again. And I'm just glazing in the forward reflection. I haven't removed all of the undercolor, right? Mm-hmm. I'm still kind of blending and working that in. That's maybe a little more than I would want, and I can always come back and pick it up a bit. And that's the other reason that the gouache is rather nice, is that you can lift it. Mm-hmm. Now I do want to get my brush to a point, so I have control over it.
Right, just on the very tip.
Make sure that the tip is there. When I have that forward, right, through the reflection, through that shadow, I can create a little bit of a kind of bright light. You can see they're all sort of on the same angle. Maybe a little gouache, like thinner. I'm kind of finger blending it out because I don't want some of it to be a little diffused. Yeah. And then I'll put in a bright spot.
That's pretty cool.
All right, so we're going to come to that back side. Create that hot spot on the water drop. So these skills, right, all of them apply to anything that you're doing in your painting. Mm-hmm. Right? So you learn a skill or you practice a skill like water drops, the lensing of water drops. Where is the shadow? How does the light reflect through the water? You know. And we want to make sure that there's a counterpoint bright white light right here. Okay.
Yeah.
And when we do that, it makes it look more realistic, doesn't it?
Oh, when you look at it from the top, it's like, wow.
Right? It's just a little bit. And this is lovely. And that's all it's going to take. Now I'm going to, I'll take this brush. This is my Corel. It's just a nice signing brush, a nice detail brush. It's got slightly more of a point I can control for signatures. I'm going to take my Quinacridone Gold. You can add water drops to anything and kind of make a, regular everyday subject seem a little more special, a little more considered. That's the word we use for it in art. You've considered it. But you just thought about the design and elements and objects that are there and how they might affect the viewer. And I feel like water drops on a fall leaf is more impactful for you. But you don't have to agree with me. You could leave your water drops off or you can add them on. Either is fine. Yeah. Don't you think?
I do.
Now, don't forget to enter the giveaway. Leave a comment down below with the hashtag #TheArtSherpa in it. Why don't you tell me your favorite thing about fall? I like to get to know you guys better. So tell me what you love about fall or fall leaves. If you have fall where you are, or if you don't have fall, tell me about that. Whatever you want to tell me about fall. Whatever you want to tell me about fall or autumn.
Yep. Autumn.
Depending on where you are. Hashtag #TheArtSherpa. And you, one lucky winner will get a month of patronage for free.
That's pretty cool.
Try my Art Sherpa patronage where we do other weird projects that are weirder than this.
Weirder than rats are all?
Hmm?
Weirder than rats are all?
Yes.
That's hard to believe.
You've seen it. It's bizarre. It's just sort of whatever I think of.
Right.
In that moment, we do crazy fun art projects that I'm not really able to put on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere. And they're fun things that you might also want to know. Plus, you get to support us. But in this month, it's a gift to you, so you might win it. So good luck to you. Terms and conditions apply. Do read the rules that are pinned in the comments down below. Remember, that's where you've got to put it, the entries in the comments. All right, I've told you enough about that. And our patronage. Our patronage is a way to support us.
Yes.
What are you
Very
winning?
much.
So we have a way to support us, and we have a bunch of videos. Sometimes the videos are longer, more involved than what we can put on YouTube. Maybe they cover subjects that I do, like figure painting. I don't really do figure painting on YouTube or Facebook because we try to keep a really family-friendly show, but maybe you want to do that. We've got drawing. We have just different weird stuff, and some of them are some very popular paintings or projects. So there's a lot to do. If you are lucky enough to win a month of patronage, if you'd like to support what we do, you could join our patronage over at www.theartsherpa.com. It's not on Patreon. Patronage was a word that existed before Patreon, and we are also using that. So you can go check that out and see what's involved. We have a set your own patron. And so it's all in one. It's kind of like the Three Musketeers, but like with patronage, because we appreciate the support. If you want to support us, but financially isn't the right answer for you right now, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Hit the subscribe button. That's another way of supporting creators like ourselves. I really appreciate your time. I would love to see your version of this painting. So you can share that in the website or on social media. Be sure to hashtag or tag me in wherever you share it. I'm on everything but like Discord. I'm on all the things.
All of them.
All the things. So you can share it with me there, and I would love to see and know what your experience was following along. All right, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I hope to see you at a watercolor pad really soon. Bye-bye.